What's the state of the labor market in Mecklenburg County? So here we are in August 2021, and I wanted to provide a quick update around the state of the labor force. And so really three main things I want to focus on today. We've been hearing a lot about a talent shortage. Employers are reopening, looking to hire, and they can't find individuals today. So really want to zoom in. What does that talent shortage look like from a data standpoint? And then really want to focus on and highlight our partnership with Goodwill, the talent survey we released to really get some of the qualitative understanding of what are those key motivators and drivers for job seekers today. And then end with, from a practical standpoint as an employer, what does that mean from a talent acquisition and retention standpoint? What should we be doing to retain current talent and to acquire talent if we are facing that talent shortage? And so again, the first thing, let's talk about what that talent shortage looks like in Mecklenburg County. And what we can see is, since the start of the pandemic, there have been over 16,000 labor market exits. So this is between February 2020 and May 2021. These are individuals that are either no longer working nor looking for work that were prior to the pandemic. And one of the key drivers that explains these labor market exits is a doubling of the rate of retirements in 2020 as compared to 2019. And that's with respect to that baby boomer demographic as they're aging out of the workforce and early retiring as a result of the pandemic. Another key driver in these labor market exits that we've been tracking is the rate of working mothers returning to the labor force. And what you can see on the screen is that, again, working mothers returned at a slower rate than all other demographics. They also had another dip in late 2020, especially as the school year started back up. And you can see right now they're about 96% return to the labor force, whereas other demographics are all above that. And so if we see any movement, we're likely to see on that 16,000, if any individuals are to return, we're likely to see it from this demographic. But again, that's pretty close to where we were prior to the pandemic, so not going to explain that full 16,000. And if we zoom in on working mothers, however, what does that mean from an industry standpoint? And so here what you've got is the percent of mothers with school-age children that left the workforce by industry in any given month. And what really jumps out are those blue circles at the top of the screen, and that is working mothers from the service industry. And so that is one industry we know was particularly hard hit, is facing this talent shortage more so than even other industries that are having a difficulty hiring. And that's really explained by these working mother exits, and we understand that industry was predominantly female. Some occupations are upwards of 70% female, like waiters and waitresses. So that occupation, those occupations in that industry are going to have a particularly hard time finding talent considering these labor market exits. And so again, this is why we partnered with Goodwill to release the Charlotte Talent Survey to really get some qualitative understanding of what are those key drivers and key motivators for job seekers today, and how do we better support them so that we can acquire and retain our talent. And so I just wanted to start off with some key insights, some overview of our survey results, which is we had over 200 responses. A majority, 72% of our responses either were high school or lower or had an associate's degree. And specifically, we had a 3 times the base rate of Mecklenburg County, 3 times likelier for our survey respondents to have an associate's degree. So a lot of those middle skilled respondents in our survey, a majority female, a majority 45 and up, and a majority were individuals of color. And if you look at our top zip codes, you're seeing, again, an alignment with the crescent of Charlotte. We know that from the economic mobility research, you're seeing those top zip codes, 28269, 28216, 28208. Again, alignment also with the city's corridors of opportunity zip codes. So some interesting alignment between our responses, those that are looking for work, and a lot of these other projects. And so what did this mean? So where are the job seekers today? And so from our survey responses, there was only one individual that was not employed, that was not seeking work. So that really indicates to us that given this information, a lot of those 16,000 labor market exits are likely permanent and are likely driven by those retirements. And 58% of those currently employed were also actively seeking employment. So again, from a talent retention standpoint, that was a key insight as well, to say, even if you don't have a talent shortage today, if you have other issues, you may be looking at seeing your talent leave for other opportunities. So really interesting to see what were the key motivators. So even if you don't face the talent shortage, making sure that you're doing everything you can to retain that talent. And so that's where we want to talk about now. So what does that mean from a talent attraction and retention standpoint for employers? So starting with that talent attraction, there were really 4 key things that I wanted to focus on. What were the most important factors? Well, the most important factors that job seekers said that they weighted over everything else were focus on physical safety from employers, focus on career advancement, obviously a high salary, and flexibility. And now what I really wanted to focus on here and drilled into is the median wage that job seekers were looking for was exactly at $15 an hour. So again, remember, we're looking at a majority of middle-skilled, entry-level individuals that took our survey. So that aligns closely with the national movement and the rhetoric around a $15 minimum wage. So that is exactly what individuals are expecting. But 2 key things that I really wanted to point out, which is more so than that salary. Again, that was their required salary. But a majority of individuals, as you can see, actually rated physical safety as more important than that salary. And then a majority of individuals also strongly agreed that career advancement was more important than that high salary. So what we're seeing is those are some non-intuitive factors that employers really need to be focused on, is how they're preparing individuals for long-term career advancement and success, as well as keeping them safe if they really want to attract that talent today. And then from a talent retention standpoint, really focusing in on what were those factors that individuals strongly agreed with? What were those key drivers that individuals felt were the biggest reasons that were keeping them at their current job? Again, we know 58% of those that had a job were actively seeking employment. So out of those that were not seeking employment, what were those key drivers keeping them there? The biggest one that individuals felt was a strong factor was the flexibility of their work arrangement. So ability to work remotely, ability to flex hours, just having that flexibility to accommodate that work-life balance, that was the biggest factor. Second to that was obviously the company culture, that environment and feeling supported. And then the third thing was this idea of workload balance and burnout prevention and making sure that you aren't getting additional duties assigned to you as employers trying to scale back. And what we've seen is we've seen a lot of that even as a talent retention and attraction standpoint, even in the service industry. We're starting to hear restaurants closing, giving employees PTO to really provide that workload balance so that employees don't face these issues of burnout and feeling like they need to resign in order to just feel better. And then lastly, again, another key driver for talent retention was also that focus on physical safety and making sure that employees felt comfortable and safe in their work environments. And so what are the key takeaways from the state of the labor force? So again, we touched on this, which is what I wanted to point out, is that most labor market exits were likely permanent, likely driven by that early retirements, individuals aging out of the workforce. And this aligns with a lot of our pandemic projections, as we said that pandemics tended to shrink the size of the labor force. And that's likely what we're seeing here. As we alluded to, it is possible more working mothers return to really shrink that gap a little bit, but that's really the only group that we would be focused on to see some potential movement from. And then again, career advancement and physical safety are a priority for talent attraction. So if you're looking to acquire talent today, focusing on wages above $15 an hour is less important than focusing on these 2 factors. So making sure that individuals have that required wage for work around 15, and then focusing on how are we providing career advancement opportunities for them and making sure that they feel that their physical safety isn't a priority from their employer. And then in terms of talent retention, if you're looking at how do I keep my talent today, then we're talking about embracing flexibility, embracing hybrid remote work options, variable schedules, and then having a strong company culture. And so again, this is a thing where we wanted to highlight that a majority of individuals that were currently employed were actively seeking employment. So making sure that even if you don't have a talent shortage today, that the flexibility and company culture were strong enough that you didn't have that issue in the future. And so again, that's all I've got for you today, but I hope you enjoyed this short update on the state of the labor force in Mecklenburg County.